Hello everyone, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you 30 awesome Excel tips and tricks. My name is Talha and this channel is all about showing you how to become a highly paid IT pro fast. Let's get started. Tip number 1. Select multiple cells. Although we can hold the control key and select cells one by one like this, right now I'm doing, you could do so. But there is a shortcut key for that. I have found out that there is a far better way to do this. All you have to do is that you have to select the first cell like this, and then you have to press Shift F8. Notice here you have this message ready. But when I press Shift plus F8, you can see that here you have Add to Selection. Now, I'm not pressing any control key and I will press like this. If I select this, if I select this, you can see that wherever I am clicking, wherever I am selecting the cell, it is selecting all of that. Okay. So in this way, I don't have to press the control key. By pressing Shift and F8, I can keep on selecting as many cells as I want. So now if I want to end this, again I have to press Shift and F8 and it would be gone. You can see that we do not have any message here. And now if I click like this, everything is gone. Tip number 2. Adding serial numbers. If you work with large data, then it's better to add a serial column to it. First of all, what you have to do is that you have to enter 1 here, and then what you're gonna do is that in the second column you're going to write here equal sign, and then you are going to select the first column, which is essentially 1, and then you're gonna press plus 1. So what it will do, that whatever value E7 contains, which is essentially 1, it would add 1 to it. So when we hit enter, you can see that it has become 2. But when we drag it, we basically take the line here and we release it. You can see that now it has essentially copied the same formula over and over again, and we have values till 5. You can drag this formula to wherever you want and your serial numbers will be increased, or if you want to drag it backwards, they would be decreased. Tip number 3. Copying the sheet. We can copy the sheet by just simply holding the control key and by clicking and dragging the sheet toward the plus sign. So if I press the control key and if I drag my sheet towards the plus sign, it would add one more sheet. I can repeat this process and I can copy as many sheets as I want. I can even rename it. I can double click here and I can simply rename my sheet from sheet 1 to sheet 2. I can change the name here as well. Tip number 4. Moving multiple columns easily. In Excel, column sides even have their own functionalities. Like we can move multiple columns by selecting them and then drag them from the border. So if I select all these columns and then if I come here on the border, if I click it and then I start dragging it anywhere in the sheet, I can basically move all those columns from one place to another. Tip number 5. Moving to the first or last column. We can move to the most first or most last column by double-clicking on the respective side of the cell. So for example, if I had thousands of lines in this table, let's say, in that case, if let's say that my selected cell is the first one here, and I want to go down, let's say way down under the thousands of values. So in that way, what I can do is that I can come here and I can double click here and you can see that this selected cell has reached down here till the end. And it can happen even you have hundreds of thousands of values. You can do the similar thing. If you double click here, it would go to the last value. So let me just quickly double click. You can see that it has gone from 5 to Hardy. And here was a space, so it considered it as an empty value. So if I double click again, you can see that there was an empty value, so it came here. If I double click here, it will come here, and if I double click here, it would go there. If I double click here, it would come here. Let's say if you do not want to click, then all you have to do is that you have to press the control key, and then you can press the arrow button in which direction you want to move it. So for example, right now my selected cell is serial number. I press control and then I hit the right arrow key. So what it would do, that the selected cell now is annual salary. If I press control again and if I press the downward key, it will come to the annual salary of Darren Hardy, which is $400,000. Now if I select control again and if I select the left arrow, it would come to Hardy. If I press it again, it would come to 5. If I press control again and if I select the up arrow, it would go to the serial number. Tip number 6. Shorten the width of the columns. We can shorten or adjust the overall column width by double-clicking on the edge. So here, for example, we have serial number, but we cannot see it. We only can see serial and then NU and probably M. So if we want to adjust the width of the column, all we have to do is that we have to go to the edge of that column and double-click. And here you can see that now serial number, the width has been adjusted and we could see it completely. In the similar way, you can see that we have first name and its width is also adjustable. So I would go here, double click, and you can see that it has been adjusted. In the similar way, I could do it for all the columns. Tip number 7. Applying arithmetic operations. We can apply any arithmetic operations by providing the formula to the cell. For example, if I want to take a square of the annual salary of Bob, in that case, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to come to the next cell maybe, because that's where I want to get the square. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type in here equal sign, and then I am going to give here the column name from where I want to get the value. So I want to get the value from J7. I'll select it and the value would be printed out here. So now what I want is that I want to take a square of it. So in order to take a square of it, we have to put this sign, and then I'm going to put here 2. If I put here 3, it would take a cube of the value. Now if I hit enter, you can see that the square of $250,000 is this value. I can also take the under root of this value, and I can offer and I can place many mathematical or arithmetical operations here. So let's say if I want to take the under root, all I have to do is that I have to write here 1 divided by 2. If I hit enter, you can see that the under root of 250,000 is $500. In the similar way, if I want to expand my mathematical approach to all the other columns, Excel is so intelligent that it is going to pick up your formula and it is going to apply to all the numbers available in the J series. So let's say if I expand it like this, you are going to get different values, and all the values in the J column, they have been underrooted. Tip number 8. Copy the formula to other cells. When you basically write a formula to one cell, you can basically drag that cell and you can apply the same formula to as many cells as you want. So let's go ahead and let's try to do an example to understand this. Right now, I will put here an equal sign, and then I'm going to select this cell, which is essentially 2, and the name of this cell is F5, and I want to take the square of F5. So I'll do something like this. And now if I hit enter, you can see that we have the square of 2, which is essentially 4. If I want to apply the same formula to all these cells, I can do so. All I have to do is that I have to pick it from here and then drag it all the way down to the last cell where I want to apply this formula. And when I release this, you can see that now it has taken the square of each number and it has applied the formula successfully. Tip number 9. Absolute cell reference. We have seen in the previous example that the formula is copied to the lower cells and it auto changes the cell in the formula relative to the cell. But what if we do not want to do so? Let's say if we want to copy the formula in which we want the cell to stay absolute. Here we need to use absolute cell reference. We can simply put a $sign before the column and row of that specific cell. Let's do it practically so that you get a better understanding. So here you can see that we have 2 columns, and in those 2 columns we have values. So let's say that if we want to multiply 1 by 2 and then if we drag it, what would happen that 1 would be multiplied by 2 and 2 will be multiplied by 4 and 4 would be multiplied by 6. But what if we do not want to change the formula and we want to multiply all of this column with just 2? Here you will use absolute cell reference. What you're gonna do is that you're gonna select the cell. Here you would write an equal sign and then you would select the cell I14 and then you would multiply it with this. Click on it and just before J and after J you are going to put a $sign, something like this. So once you have done that, now hit enter. You can see that 1 multiplied by 2 equals to 2. But now if you drag it like this, you can see that 2 have been multiplied by 2 and it has resulted 4. Then 4 has been multiplied by 2 and it has resulted 8 instead of 4 multiplied by 6, right? Then it has been multiplied by 2 and we've got the result 12. So that's how you can use absolute cell reference into your advantage. Tip number 10. Built-in formulas. Excel provides a huge amount of built-in formulas for applying it directly to the cells instead of building your own. We can use some built-in formulas by going to this function tab and then by selecting all, and then you can search here if you want to search. Let's say I want to search a random function. So if I click go, it would find me this random function. If I double click, here you can see that it would return a random value. And if I try to extend it, here you can see that it would generate number of random values. Tip number 11. Use built-in formulas to make your own new formula. We can combine 2 formulas and create a new one. We can also combine one formula with other things and create a new formula. So let's go ahead and let's see how we can create a new formula. So let's say that we have this cell, and in this cell we want to give a formula like this, like random, and then we want to create a square of the random. So in this way, basically we have created a new formula. And now if I hit enter, you can see that here we have a random number. I can basically use this formula more than once. I just have to drag this cell from here, from the end of it, till here. So here you can see the values have changed because I have changed the formula. I can also create something like this if I want to. All I have to do is that I have to create a cell, and here I create this function, or I use this method, and then I add 1 to it. So what it would do, it would generate a random number and it would add 1 to it. So now if I hit enter, here you can see that 1 has been added to the random number generated. And now if I basically take it till here, it would generate random numbers, and each time it would add 1 to it. Tip number 12. Create a table. We can create a table in Excel by selecting all the cells that we want to include in the table, and then from the keyboard you want to press Ctrl+T. When you press Ctrl+T, it is going to ask you where is the data of your table. You can select multiple columns and multiple rows, and you can add or subtract rows if you want. I just want the exact same rows and the columns that I've selected. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to hit OK. And when I click OK, you can see that I already had the headers, and this column, I didn't add any header for it. So that's why it has automatically added a header for it. I can change the name of this column, and let's say I name it as under root. Tip number 13, filters. We can also filter the data using the arrow at the top of every column of the table. So here, if I click on it, you can see that from here I can select the values that I want to print out or I want to display. So for example, if I do not want to display 2, 3, 4, and 5, if I just want to have 1, if I hit OK, you can see that I have filtered it successfully, and now I just have one value, Bob Proctor, and the annual salary of it, $250,000. So what I can do is that I can make them come back. If I select all and hit OK, you can see that all of them are back. I can also filter by the first name, last name. So let's say if I want to filter it by the first name, and let's say if I just want Darren, or let's say if I just want John, I click OK, and you can see that I just have John with $500,000 income. Let's say that if you do not find filters here, then in that case you can filter it using the data tab. Let me show you. First of all, you need to select the table, then you need to go into this data tab and then click on it. Here you would see filters. You can also press Ctrl+Shift+L from the keyboard or click on this filter icon. So when you click on it, you will see here you will have these arrows. Tip number 14. Sort the data of a table. You can also sort each column from here. You can also sort your column from smallest to largest and sort largest to smallest from here. So right now we have smallest to largest. So if I click on it, largest to smallest, you can see that it has filtered it, but here it cannot pick a value which is smaller than 1. That's why it is giving something like this. If I sort it again, like for example from smallest to largest, you can see that all the names are back, and they also have the serial number starting from smaller to largest. So that's how you basically filter and sort numbers and the values in your Excel table. Tip number 15. Remove duplicate data from a table. Removing duplicate data is a very handy tool in Excel. We can simply remove duplicate data from the table by selecting the table first, like this. Once you have selected the table, then you are going to select the data option here. Once you select the data tab, then you are going to find remove duplicates. Here you see remove duplicates. Click on it, and here you can see that I want to see the columns that have duplicate under root, they have duplicate annual salary, last name, first name, and the serial numbers. The serial numbers are not going to be same because they are mathematical, so we are just going to uncheck serial numbers. All the other things could be same, and if they are same, I want to remove that duplicate value. Here you can see that value number 4 and value number 6, they are same. So what we're gonna do is that we're gonna click on OK, and when we click on OK, you can see that it says 1 duplicate values found and removed. 5 unique values remain. So hit OK, and here you can see that value number 6 have been removed. So when you have hundreds of thousands of lines of data and you have duplicate values, this thing could be very handy. Tip number 16, if function. If function comes into very handy when you need to put a condition and then make a change into your file accordingly. So let's say that if we have annual salaries of these people and we want to give them a raise based on their specific salary condition. So what I can do, I can have an if condition, and I can say that if their salary is less than 300,000, then I want to give them a 10% raise. So what I'm going to do is that I am going to create a new column here which is going to have new salaries after the raises. So what I will do, I will select this column, and then I would go here, click on the formulas. From here, if I do not see if function here, then I can search here. I see it directly here, which was recently used, so I will just double click on it. After clicking on the if function, you will see a box something like this. Here we have logical test where I would put a condition, and here I would put something that I want to do if that condition is true. So what I'm going to do is that in the logical test, I'm going to click on this button. From here, I will select annual salary like this. Now you can see that the argument of the annual salary has been selected. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to put a condition here that if annual salary is less than $300,000, then I'm going to give the raise. So now I have put this condition here. This would check if the annual salary of every person is less than 300,000, and then it would make a decision based on that. So let's say if the annual salary is less than $300,000, then we want to give a 10% raise to the person. What we would do, would click here, and here we'd give the annual salary argument. We'll click on it, and then we'd write here plus, and then we'll again click on it, and then we'll multiply it with 10%. So now, if you know the math, if you could do simple math, then you can tell that in this formula, what we are doing is that we are adding 10% of the annual salary into the annual salary. So first of all, this annual salary will be multiplied by 10%, and the result would be added into the actual salary. Now let's talk about this third block. So here what we're going to do is that we are going to give or assign just simply the annual salary. So let's say that if this value is true, if this condition is true, then it is going to execute this one, which means that the 10% of the annual salary would be added to the actual salary. And let's say if that is false, it means that only this annual salary would be printed out. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hit OK, And here you can see that the only person with less than $300,000 salary was Bob Proctor. His salary was $250,000 and now he has been given a 10% raise, which is $25,000. All the other people had salaries above or more than $300,000 and that's why they have not been given any raises. Tip number 17. SUMIFS function. This function is used to simply add the values of the cells on the base of an if statement provided. So let's do an example to understand this. Let's say that from this table, I want to add the salaries of James. So here we have 2 James, which means that 2 salaries of James would be added up. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I'm going to select a cell where I want the result, and then I will click on the function, and here I would search for SUMIFS. I already have it here, so I will just double click on it. It would open up a window something like this. Now I'm going to select a sum range. For that, I would just click on it, and here I need to select the entire annual salary column. Once I do that, now I need to come back. And then I'm going to select the criteria range 1. And now I am going to select the first name column. Once I have done it, now I'll come back and here I will select the criteria. I'll just click on it. And now I will select or pick James. Now I'll go back. Here you can see that all the salaries are enlisted here. Then all the names are enlisted here. And now it would pick up the James out of it and then combine the salary of it. As you can tell by the name, SUMIFS. So it would sum the result. So now if I hit OK, here you can see that everybody has the same salary because we selected this column. But James here, he has $650,000 salary, and here this James also has $650,000 salary because it has added $325,000. I can only have one James, and similarly I would get the same result. Doesn't matter how many James are in there, it would sum their salaries. Tip number 18. Concatenate function. As the name of this function suggests, it helps to concatenate 2 strings from 2 different columns. In order to do that, what I need to do is that I will go here, I'll select this, and I am going to concatenate first name and the last name. So for that, what I would do, I would select this cell, I'd go here, I would put an equal sign here, and then I am going to write here the concatenate function. So I will write here concatenate, and then I'm going to write here the parenthesis, and then in the parenthesis I am going to give 2 names or 2 arguments. So first argument is going to be this first name, and then I put a comma, and then I select this last name. So now I will hit enter, and here you can see that both columns, they have been concatenated, and now we do have the first and last names combined. Tip number 19. Sort function. This function helps in sorting the columns, but it is only available in Microsoft 365. So if I come here, and let's say that in this column I want to print out or have all these annual salaries in ascending order. So for that, what I would do, I would come here, I would select this function button, I would pick up all, and from here, after clicking, I'd press S. It would take me to the S row. I'll scroll down and eventually I'll reach to the sort function. I'll click it and then I'll hit OK. So here you can see that we have sort function. So here the first argument is going to be the range. Whatever column I want to select, I would go here, I'd select this column, and I have given the range. Now I'd put a comma here, and now it is asking me for the sort index. So there is just one column, so we'll just give here 1. And then here you can see that it is asking me for the sort order, and there are two ways. The order could be ascending or it could be descending. So the thing is that I want it as ascending order. So for that I would write here 1. And let's say if I would have wanted it in the descending order, I would have written here -1. So let's do this. The next argument we do not need to write it. We'll just hit enter. And here you can see that now this annual salary column has been organized and has been sorted in ascending order from small to the biggest. So if I want it in the descending order, all I have to do is that here instead of 1, I'm going to put -1. So when I hit enter, here you can see that now I have annual salaries in descending order, which means that I have salaries from the biggest to the smallest. Tip number 20, unique function. This function lets you find the unique values in column, and it is available in Microsoft Excel 365. So what you're going to do, first of all, we're going to select a cell where we're going to perform the action. So now I'll go to the Formula tab, I'll pick up all, I'll select it, then I'll press U. I'll scroll down and here I find this unique function. Now I'm going to click on OK, and here you can see that we have this unique function right here. Now I'm going to put array. For that, I will select the range from the first name. I'll select all names, and you can tell that all names here are unique except James. So now we do not need to put any bicolumn or exactly one string, we just close it. And now we hit enter and you can see that we have Bob, Darren, John, James and Robert, which means that it has only printed out unique values and it has not printed out James 2 times. Tip number 21, combine two functions. In Excel, you can combine two functions if you want to. For example, let's say we have done two functions, sort and unique. And if we want to combine them, there is a simple way. What I'm going to do is that I'm going to select one cell and then I'm going to click the Formula tab, and even without clicking the Formula tab, I can directly write here. So for that, what I'm going to do is that I have to write here an equal sign and then I'm going to write here sort. After writing sort here, I'm going to enclose the parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, I'm going to write unique function. Once I've written it down, now I'm going to give some arguments. So inside the unique function, I'm going to give a range of the array. So for that, I would select this Bob till James. So here you can see that I have a unique function which would enlist the unique names, and then they will be sorted in an ascending order. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to hit enter, and there you go. You can see that these names have been ordered, sorted like this. So first we have Bob, Darren, and then James and John, and then Robert. So here you can see that they have been sorted, and just the James and John, they have been replaced. So let's say if we would have it in the list opposite, these would have been sorted quite clearly. So here you can see that in our list, two names have been changed, other names were already in an ascending order. Tip number 22, paste special. Paste special is a very handy tool in Excel. Since we have different types of formatting, Excel provides the paste special option to paste something using different ways available. So for example, on the back end of this table, we have formulas, like one formula for combining the first and last name, and one formula for the under root, one formula for the new salary. So let's say that if we want to copy this whole table, and let's say if we come here and if we try to paste it using Control V, you would see that here first and last name, they have this kind of value, right? And why is that? Because the Excel was unable to pick up formulas from here, because these two columns were created using formula. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to delete this, and now I have deleted that. And let's say if I want to copy it, for that I have to copy it first, and then wherever I want to paste, I need to right click there, and then I need to select the paste special option. And then I am going to go here and I'm going to select paste values. So I'll click it, and here you can see that all values have been pasted successfully. Tip number 23, VLOOKUP function. This is one of the most famous and helping function when it comes to finding any value in the table. This function will take 4 arguments. So let's go ahead and let's see. So let's say that, let me just copy these 3 names first, and let me just copy them here. And let's say that if I want to find the salary of Bob, how can it do that? So I'll go into this cell, I'll go to the formula tab, I'll click on it, and I'll search here for VLOOKUP. I have it here. So I will click on it, select it, and then I will hit OK. So here you can see that this gives me this kind of window. Here I have to give 4 arguments. The first argument is going to be the value that you want to look for. So here I would click on it. Now I will select Bob. And after that I'll come back. Now I am going to select the table. I'll go here and I will select the table array like this. And after that I'm going to come back here. Now I will select the column index. Here in the third index, I'm going to write here the column index that I want to find a value of. So here, if I count 1, 2, 3, and 4, the annual salary column number is 4. So I will just type in here the number, which is essentially 4. And now if we talk about the last argument, here we are going to write false because we want to find an exact match, right? You can see it here. So we'll write here false. And now if I hit OK, here you can see the salary of the Bob has been printed out here, which is $250,000, and it has been taken from the annual salary column. And now if I do something like this, the salary of Darren and John also have been printed out. So you can verify that the salary of the Darren is $400,000 and the salary of John is $500,000. Tip number 24. We can have a quick analysis of a table, like formatting of columns or showing data bars, by selecting the table and pressing the keyboard shortcuts keys Ctrl+Q, or even you just can select the table, let's say like this, and then you will see this small icon here, which is quick analysis. Either you can click it, or if you do not see this icon, you can press Ctrl+Q. Here in the formatting tab, you see the data bars. So if I select that, here you can see that wherever it finds the numbers, it would create the data bars. If I click again, and let's say if I want to change the colors, it would change the colors of the columns. So here you can see clearly. And if I want to set the icon, I can also do so. I just click on it, and here you can see that with each column you have different kind of icons. Here you can set the greater than, and then you can basically format the cells that are greater than if you want to. You can also select different colors. You can pick the text, and you can format cells that contain the text, and then you can specially give them or assign them colors. You can also clear all the colors and all the data bars if you like. Tip number 25. Creating charts from the table. Select the table, click on this icon, and click on charts. Here you see different options. So first option is clustered chart. You click on it, and here you see a chart about the salaries. You can create different charts depending upon what kind of chart you want. So here we have the last name on the x-axis. On the y-axis we have the salaries. And from here we can tell that the column has the most salary of $650,000. We can make changes to this chart. We can change the style of it and the color of it if we want. We can pick any color, the orange, green, blue. We can delete this chart as well by clicking on the delete button. If I click on it, so here there are some other chart types that you can create and you can take a look at. So basically whatever numbers data it could find, it had created different charts along with it. So here whatever data or the number data it could find, it has created different charts in harmony with those numbers. You can select any of the chart type and then change the colors, and you can also change different arguments like names, the first names and the last names. Tip number 26. Generating totals of columns. The quick analysis also provides the quick solution for generating the total like sum or average of the columns. So let's say if I want to generate the sums of the columns, if I click on it, you can see that now it has generated the sum of all columns. So here it is the sum of all the annual salaries. It is the sum of all the under roots. It is the sum of all the new salaries. So here in the similar way, I can find the average of each column. And here you can see that this one is the average salary of the annual salary. And here this is the average salary from the new salary. You can count the number of values inside the column. You can see all column has 6 values. You can collect the percentage total, and here you have more function like running and the sum as well. Tip number 27. Providing a drop down to a cell. We can provide some custom made drop down values to any cell by selecting the cell first. So let's say that we want to create a drop down here. I'll select this cell, and in this cell I want to assign annual salary to Bob. So for that I would go to the data, I would go to the data validation, and then I will click on it. After that I'm going to select, instead of any value, I'm going to select list. Now I'm going to select the source, and the source of the annual salary is going to be from here till here. I'll select it, I'd come back here and I would hit OK. You can see that I have a drop down here, and from my drop down I can select or assign any value to Bob. So we know that the annual salary of the Bob is $250,000. So I can select it. If I want to assign any other value or any other salary to Bob, I can do so. And let's say I want to assign $450,000. So now Bob has been assigned $450,000 salary. In the same way, I am going to pick it and drag it till end. And here you can see that of every value we have created a drop down. So from here individually I can select salaries. So $250,000 annual salary for Bob, and for Darren we can select from here 400,000, and then for John we can select $500,000 from the drop down menu. Okay. Tip number 28, Flash Fill. Flash Fill is a built-in autofill feature of Excel that automatically tries to detect the pattern and start to recommend it. For example, if I write here 1 and then if I drag it down, you can see all of it has detected the pattern and it would print out 1. If I write here 2, so now if we have 1 and 2 and if we drag it down till here, it would basically print out the whole pattern like this from 1 till 13. I can do this thing horizontally. If I just drag it here, it would print out 1 in all the row. If I do something like this, if I write here 2 and then if I select these 2 and then if I drag it from here till here, you can see that it would print out numbers in row from 1 till 7. You can also create a pattern like this, 2, 4, and now it would start to basically recognize this pattern and it would print all the values like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Excel is so intelligent that it is going to pick up any series and any pattern that you put in there. Tip number 29, left and right functions. So let's say that if I want to pick up this first and last name and I want to pick up specifically 3 characters from the left. The way to do that is that I would write left formula here. I'll write the left function. It would take 2 arguments. One is going to be the text and the other is going to be the number of characters that I want to get it from that text. So here I would write here the text, which is essentially Bob Proctor. I'll select this and then I'd put a comma. And now I want to acquire first 3 characters from the left. I'll write here 3 and I would hit enter. Here you can see that I have Bob printed out right here in this cell. I can do another thing, that what if I want to get the 3 characters from the right? In that case, I need to do one thing, and that is I just need to change the function from left to right. And here, let's say that instead of 3, I want last 7 characters. I hit enter and here you can see that last 7 characters from here have been printed out. That's how you use left and right function. Tip number 30, view formulas. When you have applied a lot of formulas in your Excel sheet, you might want to see that where you have applied those formulas. For example, I know that right now I have applied formulas in this column and in this column, okay? But when you have a lot of data, you might forget that in which columns or in which rows you have applied the formulas. So in order to view the formulas, you have to press Control and then you're going to press tilde. You press Control and tilde, and after that you'd be able to see all the formulas here. Now you can easily differentiate between the data and the formulas, and if you want to change any formula, you can do so pretty easily. So these were the awesome 30 tips and tricks for Excel. Thanks for watching this video. Do not forget to subscribe to our channel to get the latest videos to help you advance your IT career.